2 months after our divorce, my ex-mother-in-law called and said, "Your husband is dying, bring the cash." I didn't know whether to laugh, cry, or drop my phone. Because 2 months ago, the same people had treated me like I was already dead. Before we go any further, pause for a second. Drop a comment telling me the time and where you're watching from. If stories like this move you, please like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend who might need to hear it today. Now, let me take you back to the beginning. 2 months earlier, I signed my divorce papers with a shaking hand. The pen felt heavy, like it carried the weight of my whole life. 10 years of marriage ended with one signature. My name is Amara. I was 34 years old, jobless, emotionally tired, and starting life all over again. The man I divorced was Chinidu, my husband of 10 years. We met young. We grew together. Or at least, I thought we did. When I married Chinidu, I didn't just marry him. I married his mother too. Everyone warned me. His mother is too controlling. She will never let you rest. You are not marrying one man, you are marrying a whole family. I smiled and said love would fix everything. I was wrong. At the beginning of our marriage, things were sweet. Chinidu was kind, gentle, and hardworking. His mother, Mrs. Okafor, acted friendly at first. She hugged me in public. She called me my daughter in front of people. But behind closed doors, it was a different story. She complained about everything. The way I cooked. The way I spoke. The way I dressed. Even the way I breathed. "Is this how your mother trained you?" she would ask. Every mistake I made was reported to my husband. Slowly, Chinidu changed. He stopped defending me. He stopped listening. He started believing his mother more than his wife. Then came the children issue. 5 years passed. No child. Doctors said the problem was not from me. But my mother-in-law didn't want to hear it. She blamed me for everything. She told my husband to marry another woman. She told him I was wasting his destiny. She told him I was cursed. One night, during a family meeting, she said something I will never forget. "If this woman doesn't give you a child, she has no use in this family." My husband said nothing. That silence broke my heart more than any slap could. The emotional abuse became physical control. My money was questioned. My phone calls were monitored. My movements were watched. I felt like a prisoner in my own marriage. The final straw came one night when Chinidu raised his hand to hit me. He didn't hit me, but the intention was there. I packed my bags that same night. I left with nothing but my clothes and broken dreams. 2 months later, the divorce was finalized. I moved in with my aunt in a small apartment. I cried every night. But slowly, I started healing. Then the phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't pick it. Almost. "Hello," I said. Her voice came sharp and cold. "Amara." My stomach dropped. It was Mrs. Okafor, the woman who swore I would never know peace. "What do you want?" I asked, my heart beating fast. She didn't greet me. She didn't ask how I was. She went straight to the point. "Your husband is dying." I froze. My body went cold. "What?" I whispered. "He is in the hospital. His condition is bad," she said quickly. "Bring the cash you took and come now." I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was unbelievable. "Which cash?" I asked. "The money you took from my son," she snapped. "The money you stole before you ran away." I felt anger rise inside me. I left that house with nothing. No money. No jewelry. No furniture. I was the one who lost everything. Yet here she was accusing me again. "I didn't take anything," I said firmly. She ignored me. "If you want to prove you're a good woman, bring the money and come see him. He may not survive the night." Then she hung up. Just like that. I sat on the bed, shaking. My mind was confused. Chinidu dying? The same man who turned his back on me? The same man who let his mother destroy our marriage? Why was I the one they called? Why now? And why did they want cash? Something didn't feel right. But another part of me remembered the man I once loved. The man who held my hand when my father died. The man who promised to protect me. I stood up. My heart said go. My head said be careful. I didn't know that this call was only the beginning. I didn't know that walking into that hospital would change everything. And I definitely didn't know that the truth waiting for me was far more dangerous than a dying man. The hospital smelled like disinfectant and fear. That was the first thing I noticed as I stepped inside. People rushed past me, nurses in a hurry, family members whispering prayers, machines beeping like countdown clocks. I stood there for a moment, frozen, holding my bag tightly to my chest. My heart was beating so loud, I was sure everyone could hear it. I hadn't planned to come. After the call, I sat on the bed for almost an hour, staring at the wall. My aunt begged me not to go. "Amara, don't let them pull you back into their drama," she said. "That woman never does anything without a reason." But something inside me wouldn't let me stay. Maybe it was pity. Maybe it was unfinished emotions. Or maybe it was the need for closure. So there I was, at the hospital, looking for the man who once promised me forever. I walked to the reception desk. My ex-husband. I corrected myself quickly, Chinedu Okafor. I was told he's here. The nurse typed his name into the computer. Her face changed slightly. "Yes, he's admitted," she said. "Ward C. Second floor." My chest tightened. "So, how is he?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She hesitated. "He's stable for now," she replied carefully. "But he needs urgent treatment." Urgent. That word followed me as I walked toward the stairs. Stable, but dying? Something didn't add up. As I reached the second floor, I heard a familiar voice even before I saw her. Loud. Sharp. Angry. "I told you people to do something." Mrs. Okafor was shouting at a nurse. "Do you want my son to die?" I stopped at the corner, watching from a distance. She looked the same. Well-dressed. Well-fed. Strong. Not like a woman whose son was dying. Then I saw Chineda's younger sister, Ngozi, sitting quietly on a bench, scrolling through her phone like she was waiting at a bus stop. No tears. No panic. Just boredom. My stomach twisted. If Chineda was truly dying, why did no one look worried? I stepped forward. "Ngozi," I called softly. She looked up, shocked. "Amara," she said, standing up quickly. "What are you doing here?" Before I could answer, my ex-mother-in-law turned. The moment she saw me, her face hardened. "So you finally came," she said coldly. "I thought you would pretend not to care." I swallowed hard. "You said he was dying," I replied. "I came to see him." She looked me up and down, like she was inspecting damaged goods. "Good," she said. "Then you can do the right thing." I knew what she meant. "The money. Where is he?" I asked. She pointed toward a private room. "He's inside," she said. "But before you go in, let's talk." My heart skipped. "Talk about what?" I asked. She moved closer to me, lowering her voice. "The hospital bills," she said. "They're expensive. We don't have time." I frowned. "But you said his condition is bad. Shouldn't I see him first?" She waved her hand dismissively. "You will see him. But money comes first." There it was. The real reason. Not concern. Not love. Money. "I don't have any money," I said firmly. "And even if I did, I'm not responsible anymore. We're divorced." Her eyes flashed with anger. "So you can abandon him like that," she hissed. "After everything he did for you?" I laughed bitterly. "Everything he did to me?" I corrected. People nearby started watching. She didn't care. "You are heartless," she said loudly. "You came here to pretend, not to help." Ngozi tried to calm her mother. "Mama, please," she whispered. But Mrs. Okafor wasn't done. "If my son dies," she continued, pointing at me, "his blood will be on your head." Those words cut deep. For a moment, I almost believed her. I pushed past her. "I'm going to see him," I said. She didn't stop me. Inside the room, the lights were dim. Chineda lay on the bed. Thin. Pale. Weak. Machines were connected to him, beeping softly. Seeing him like that broke something inside me. No matter what he did, he was once my husband. His eyes were closed. I walked closer. "Chinedu," I whispered. His eyelids fluttered open. When he saw me, his eyes widened. "Amara," he croaked. Tears filled his eyes. "You came." I nodded slowly. "They said you were dying." He looked away. I'm sick," he said weakly. "But not dying." My heart dropped. What do you mean not dying? I asked. He sighed. My mother exaggerated, he admitted quietly. She said she needed to scare you. Scare me? I felt dizzy. So why am I here? I asked. He hesitated. Then he spoke. The hospital needs payment for a surgery, he said. And my business collapsed after the divorce. I don't have money. There it was. The truth. No dramatic death. No final goodbye. Just money. Anger burned inside me. So your mother lied to me? I asked. He looked ashamed. She said it was the only way you would come, he whispered. I stepped back. My hands were shaking. You let her call me? I asked. You let her accuse me of stealing? He said nothing. Silence again. Just like during our marriage. At that moment the door opened. Mrs. Okafor walked in, smiling like she had already won. So, she asked. You've seen him. Now do your duty. I took a deep breath. Something inside me changed. I realized something important. They didn't call me because they loved me. They called me because they needed me. And for the first time in my life, I was no longer powerless. I looked at Chinidu. Then I looked at his mother. I will help, I said calmly. Her face lit up. But, I continued. Not the way you expect. Her smile slowly faded. What do you mean? She asked. I turned toward the door. You'll find out soon, I said. And I walked out. I didn't go far after leaving that hospital room. My legs carried me to the end of the hallway, but my mind was still inside that room. Still staring at Chinida's weak face, still hearing his mother's demanding voice, still feeling the old wounds reopening. I leaned against the cold wall and closed my eyes. For the first time since the divorce, I understood something very clearly. They did not miss me. They did not regret how they treated me. They did not want reconciliation. They wanted what I could provide. Money, sympathy, control. And they thought I was still the same broken woman who would bend just to prove she was good. They were wrong. I took out my phone and called the only person I trusted. My aunt. Amara, she answered quickly. Are you okay? I swallowed hard. They lied, I said. He's not dying. She sighed deeply. I knew it, she said. So what do they want? Money, I replied. There was a short silence. Then she said something that would guide my next move. Then don't react emotionally. React wisely. I went back toward the hospital room, but I didn't enter. Instead, I sat on a bench outside and watched. I watched Mrs. Okafor pacing back and forth, making phone calls, complaining loudly. I watched Ngozi laughing at something on her phone. And I watched nurses walk in and out, calm and unbothered. Nothing about this situation screamed emergency. That's when an idea began to form in my mind. If they were playing games, then so would I. After about 30 minutes, Mrs. Okafor stormed out of the room and spotted me. There you are, she said sharply. I thought you ran away again. I stood up calmly. I said I would help, I replied. I didn't say I would rush. Her eyes narrowed. Then talk, she said. What is your plan? I looked her straight in the eyes. I want to speak to the doctor, I said. Alone? She scoffed. Why? She asked. Are you now a doctor? No, I said evenly. But I am the one you're asking for money. She hesitated. Then she smiled. Fine, she said. Go. But don't waste time. The doctor was a middle-aged man with tired eyes. I introduced myself. I'm Chinida's ex-wife, I said. I want to understand his condition. The doctor nodded. He needs surgery, he explained. It's serious but not life-threatening if treated. How much? I asked. He told me the amount. It was a lot, but not the impossible amount his mother was implying. Can he wait? I asked. Yes, the doctor said. We have time. A few weeks even. My heart tightened. So they lied again. Thank you, I said. As I walked away, something inside me hardened. I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused. I returned to the family. I spoke to the doctor, I said. Mrs. Okafor's face changed. What did he say? She asked quickly. That the surgery is serious, I replied carefully. But not urgent. Her lips pressed into a thin line. He doesn't know what he's saying, she snapped. My son is suffering. I nodded slowly. Maybe, I said. But here's my condition. She folded her arms. I will help pay, I continued. But only if everything is done properly and transparently. She frowned. What do you mean? I will not hand cash to anyone, I said. All payments will be made directly to the hospital. She exploded. You don't trust us? She shouted. I met her anger with calm. Trust is earned, I replied. Chinito watched quietly from the bed. For the first time, he spoke up. Mother, please, he said weakly. Let her help. She turned to him, shocked. So now you're choosing her over me? She asked. He looked away. I felt a strange mix of pity and relief. I also have another condition, I said. Everyone turned to me. If I help, I continued, I want the truth. No lies. No accusations. No manipulation. Mrs. Okafor laughed bitterly. You think you have power here? She said. You are nothing to us now. I smiled slightly. Then you don't need my help, I said, turning to leave. Her laughter stopped. Wait, she said quickly. Silence filled the room. Ngozi looked uncomfortable. Finally, Mrs. Okafor spoke. Fine, she said. What do you want to know? I looked at Chinito. Why now? I asked him. Why call me after the divorce? He swallowed hard. Because, he began, then stopped. His mother cut in. Because family helps family, she said. I shook my head. No, I said calmly. That's not the truth. Chinito closed his eyes. Then he spoke. My business collapsed, he admitted. My accounts were frozen. I have debts. My heart sank. And? I asked. And the money we saved during the marriage, he said softly. It's gone. I felt like the ground disappeared under my feet. Gone. I repeated. He nodded. My mother used it, he confessed. She invested it without telling us. It failed. I stared at Mrs. Okafor. She didn't deny it. You were no longer part of the family, she said coldly. That money belonged to my son. Tears burned my eyes. That was my money too. Years of sacrifice. Years of saving. Gone. At that moment, something inside me broke, and rebuilt itself at the same time. I finally understood the full picture. They didn't just want help. They wanted me to clean up the mess they created. I took a deep breath. Okay, I said quietly. Everyone looked at me in surprise. I will help, I repeated. Mrs. Okafor smiled again. But, I added, this time the rules are mine. Her smile slowly disappeared. The room went quiet after I said those words. This time the rules are mine. You could almost hear everyone's thoughts. Mrs. Okafor stared at me like I had suddenly grown horns. Ngozi shifted uncomfortably on her chair. Chinita looked confused and scared. For the first time, I wasn't the weak one in the room. And they felt it. What rules? Mrs. Okafor asked slowly, her voice low and sharp. Don't forget who you're talking to. I took a step forward. I know exactly who I'm talking to, I said calmly. And that's why I'm setting boundaries. She laughed, but it sounded forced. You're acting like you have authority here, she said. You're no longer his wife. That's true, I replied. But I'm also not your victim anymore. That sentence hit her harder than a slap. I turned to Chinito. Look at me, I said. He did. His eyes were tired, regretful. If I help you, I said slowly, this is not about love or marriage or pity. He nodded weakly. It's about responsibility, I continued. And accountability. Mrs. Okafor scoffed. Speak English, she said. What exactly do you want? I took a deep breath. Here it was. First, I said, raising one finger. Everything must be written. They stared at me. Written? Ngozi asked. Yes, I replied. A signed agreement. Clear terms. Clear records. Mrs. Okafor's eyes widened. You want to turn family into business? She snapped. You already did, I said quietly. When you asked for cash. Silence. Second, I continued, raising another finger. I will speak directly with the hospital. No middlemen. No stories. That's fine, she said quickly. We already said that. I nodded. And third, I said, my voice firm now. I want the truth publicly. Chinito frowned. What do you mean? He asked. I said, your family will stop telling lies about me. Mrs. Okafor stiffened. What lies? She asked. The lies that I stole money, I replied. That I abandoned my husband. That I ruined your family. Her face turned red. Those are not lies, she shouted. I didn't raise my voice. Then you won't mind correcting them, I said. The air felt heavy. This wasn't about money anymore. This was about control. Mrs. Okafor had controlled the story for years. And now, I was taking it back. You're asking for too much, she said finally. You should be grateful we even called you. I smiled sadly. That's exactly the problem, I said. You think helping you is a favor to me. I turned toward the door. If you don't agree, I said. I walk away. Right now. Chinita panicked. Wait, he said weakly. Please don't go. I stopped. He looked at his mother. Mama, he whispered. Please just agree. She stared at him, shocked. For the first time, her son was not on her side. Mrs. Okafor clenched her fists. Minutes passed. Finally, she spoke. Fine, she said through gritted teeth. But don't think this makes you important. I turned back. It doesn't need to, I said. It just needs to be fair. That evening, I went home feeling exhausted. Not relieved. Not happy. Just alert. Because I knew something. People like Mrs. Okafor don't give up control easily. They wait. They plan. And they strike when you least expect it. The next morning, my phone rang. It was an unknown number again. I answered. Hello. A woman's voice came through, soft, nervous. Please, is this Amara? Yes, I replied. This is Nurse Blessing, she said. I work at the hospital where your ex-husband is admitted. My heart skipped. Yes, I said cautiously. She hesitated. I don't know if I should be calling you, she continued. But something is not right. My grip tightened on the phone. What do you mean? I asked. She lowered her voice. There are things happening behind your back, she whispered. And I think you should know. My stomach dropped. That was when I realized something terrifying. The trap wasn't over. In fact, it was just beginning. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it would burst through my chest. Hello, I said again into the phone. Nurse Blessing. I'm listening. There was a long pause on the other end. Then she spoke, her voice shaking. Please don't mention my name, she said quickly. I could lose my job. I understand, I replied. But you're scaring me. What's going on? She took a deep breath. Your ex-mother-in-law came to the hospital early this morning, she said. She wasn't alone. My stomach tightened. Who was with her? I asked. A man, she replied. He looked like a lawyer, or maybe a bank officer. My hands went cold. What did they do? I asked slowly. They asked for your ex-husband's medical records, she said. And they were talking about money. A lot of money. I sat down on the edge of my bed. Medical records? I repeated. Why? That's what worried me, the nurse said. Because they weren't asking questions like worried family members. I closed my eyes. What kind of questions? I asked. She hesitated again. They asked how serious his condition really was, she said, and whether it could be described as life-threatening on paper. My chest felt tight. On paper? I whispered. Yes, she said. They kept repeating that phrase. I didn't need her to explain further. I understood. They wanted documents. They wanted proof. They wanted to build a story. Did they say why? I asked. They mentioned insurance, she said. And compensation. I felt dizzy. Insurance? Compensation? Suddenly, everything started to make sense. The rush. The lies. The demand for cash. This was never just about surgery. This was about money coming from somewhere else. Thank you for telling me, I said quietly. You did the right thing. She sighed with relief. I just didn't feel comfortable, she said. And there's something else. My heart skipped. What else? I asked. They asked about you, she said. My blood ran cold. About me? I repeated. Yes, she replied. They asked if you were still legally married. If you visited often. If you were involved in his care. My fingers tightened around the phone. And what did you say? I asked. I told them you were his ex-wife, she said. And that you only came once. There was another pause. Then your ex-mother-in-law said something strange, she added. What? I asked. She said. The nurse whispered. That's good. We'll say she's responsible. The words hit me like a slap. Responsible? For what? I felt my throat close up. Responsible for what? I asked, my voice barely steady. The nurse lowered her voice even more. I don't know, she said. But the way she said it, it didn't sound good. I thanked her again and ended the call. Then I sat there, in silence, trying to breathe. That was when fear finally set in. Real fear. Not emotional pain. Not sadness. Fear. Because I realized something terrifying. They weren't just trying to use me. They were trying to set me up. I replayed everything in my mind. The fake urgency. The demand for cash. The lies about stealing. The sudden interest in my involvement. They wanted to paint a picture. A picture where I was the one responsible if anything went wrong. A picture where I was the villain. I stood up and paced the room. My aunt watched me closely. What's wrong? She asked. I told her everything. Every word the nurse said. Her face changed immediately. Amara, she said firmly. You must protect yourself. I know, I replied. But how? She thought for a moment. First, she said, you document everything. I nodded. Second, she continued, you don't give anyone money without proof and witnesses. I nodded again. And third, she said slowly, you prepare for the worst. That last sentence made my stomach turn. Later that day, I returned to the hospital. But this time, I was not the same woman who walked in before. I carried a notebook. I carried copies of my divorce papers. And I carried a quiet determination. When Mrs. Okafor saw me, she smiled. A fake smile. You've come to do the right thing, she said. I smiled back. Something like that, I replied. She didn't notice the nurse watching from a distance. She didn't notice me observing everything. She didn't notice that I was no longer reacting emotionally. I was collecting evidence. I spoke to the hospital, Mrs. Okafor said proudly. They said we need to act fast. I nodded. I agree, I said. That's why I want everything written. Her smile faltered. What do you mean? She asked. I want official receipts, I said. Official statements. And a written report of his condition. Her eyes narrowed. Why are you making things difficult? She snapped. I leaned closer. Because someone is lying, I said calmly. And it won't be me. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind kept racing. What exactly were they planning? Insurance fraud? Blame? Legal trouble? I didn't know yet. But I knew one thing. If I made one wrong move, I could lose everything. My freedom. My reputation. My future. The next morning, something happened that confirmed all my fears. I received a message. Not a call. A message. From an unknown number. It said, if anything happens to Chinidu, you will be held responsible. My hands started shaking. This wasn't manipulation anymore. This was a threat. I stared at the message for a long time. If anything happens to Chinidu, you will be held responsible. No greeting. No explanation. Just fear wrapped in words. My hands were shaking, but something surprising happened inside me. I stopped crying. I stopped panicking. And for the first time since this nightmare began, fear turned into clarity. Because threats only work when you're confused. And I was no longer confused. I showed the message to my aunt. She read it slowly, then looked up at me. This is intimidation, she said. And it's proof. Proof of what? I asked. That they're planning something, she replied. And that they're scared you might expose it. That word, expose, stuck in my mind. Maybe this wasn't just about surviving anymore. Maybe this was about ending it. I replied to the message with one simple line. Please put all communication in writing through your lawyer. Then I blocked the number. My heart was pounding, but my head was clear. I knew what I had to do next. That same afternoon, I went to see a lawyer. Not a family friend. Not someone emotional. A professional. I sat across from him and told him everything. From the divorce to the hospital call, from the lies to the threat. He listened quietly. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. You're being set up, he said plainly. I nodded. I know, I replied. But I want to stop it. He nodded slowly. Then you need to do 3 things, he said. I leaned forward. First, he continued, you must officially remove yourself from all medical responsibility. How? I asked. By writing a formal letter, he replied, stating that you are not involved in his care, finances, or decisions. I nodded. Second, he said. You document every interaction. Calls, messages, visits. I nodded again. And third, he said, his voice serious now. You let them make a mistake. I frowned. What do you mean? I asked. He smiled slightly. People who lie always overdo it, he said. All you have to do is stay calm and let them expose themselves. That night I wrote the letter. Clear. Firm. Emotionless. It stated that I was divorced, had no legal obligation, and any assistance offered was voluntary and conditional. The lawyer sent it officially to the hospital and to Chinita's family. No drama. Just facts. The next day, the reaction was explosive. Mrs. Okafor called me over and over again. I didn't answer. She sent messages. I saved them. Then she showed up at my aunt's house. Uninvited. Angry. You think you're smart? She shouted the moment she saw me. You think papers can protect you? I stayed calm. I think the truth can, I replied. She laughed bitterly. You're trying to escape responsibility, she said. I don't have any, I answered. That made her furious. You came to the hospital, she yelled. You promised to help. Yes, I said calmly. Help, not be blamed. She stepped closer to me. If my son dies, she hissed, I will drag your name through the mud. I looked her straight in the eyes. And if you do, I said quietly, I will tell the world everything. She froze. That was the moment she realized something. I wasn't afraid anymore. And fear was the only power she ever had over me. 2 days later, I received another call. This time, it was from Chinidu. I almost didn't pick it up. But I did. Amara, he said weakly. Please. I need to talk to you. I closed my eyes. Talk, I said. My mother is making things worse, he admitted. She's talking to people. Saying things. I know, I replied calmly. He was quiet. I didn't know it would go this far, he said. That's the problem, I replied. You never know until it does. He sighed deeply. There's something you should know, he said. My heart tightened. What? I asked. The insurance policy, he said slowly. There is no payout unless the condition is listed as critical and linked to stress. I didn't breathe. Stress? I repeated. Yes, he said. They're trying to say the divorce caused it. There it was. The final piece. They wanted to blame me. Thank you for telling me, I said. I'm sorry, he whispered. I know, I replied. But sorry won't fix this. When the call ended, I felt strangely calm. Because now I knew exactly what they were doing. And now, I could stop them. I called the nurse again. Then the doctor. Then my lawyer. I shared everything. And together we formed a plan. A legal, clean, undeniable plan. I would let Mrs. Okafor tell her story. And then, I would expose the truth. The hospital meeting was scheduled for Friday morning. Mrs. Okafor herself requested it. She wanted everyone present. The doctor. The hospital administrator. The insurance representative. My ex-husband. And me. When my lawyer told me this, I almost laughed. She thought this meeting would corner me. She had no idea it would free me. That morning I dressed simply. No makeup. No jewelry. Just calm. Because when the truth is on your side, you don't need to look powerful. You already are. When I entered the conference room, everyone was already seated. Mrs. Okafor sat at the head of the table like a queen holding court. She nodded at me without smiling. This is good, she said loudly. Now we can finally clear things up. I took my seat quietly. Chinidu avoided my eyes. He looked smaller than I remembered. Not physically. Emotionally. The hospital administrator began. We are here to discuss Mr. Okafor's condition, treatment plan, and financial responsibility, he said professionally. Mrs. Okafor leaned forward. My son's condition worsened due to emotional trauma, she said quickly. And certain people must be held accountable. Her eyes flicked toward me. I said nothing. The insurance representative adjusted his glasses. We need clarity, he said. Was the patient under extreme stress recently? Yes. Mrs. Okafor said immediately. His wife abandoned him. Divorced him suddenly. Left him broken. My chest tightened, but my face stayed calm. She ruined his life, Mrs. Okafor continued. And now she wants to walk away. The room was silent. Everyone looked at me. This was the moment she had been waiting for. I slowly opened my bag and placed a document on the table. May I speak now? I asked calmly. The administrator nodded. Please, he said. I slid the document forward. This is our divorce decree, I said. Finalized 2 months ago. Mrs. Okafor frowned. So, she snapped. So, I continued. The marriage ended due to long-term emotional abuse, documented counseling sessions, and written complaints. The room shifted. The insurance representative leaned forward. Do you have proof? He asked. I nodded. Emails. Messages. Witness statements. Mrs. Okafor's face darkened. But that's not all, I added. I placed another document on the table. This is the official medical report, I said. Signed by the attending doctor. The doctor nodded. It states that Mr. Okafor's condition is serious, I continued, but not caused by emotional stress or divorce. Mrs. Okafor stood up suddenly. That's a lie, she shouted. The administrator raised his hand. Please sit, he said firmly. She sat, but her hands were shaking. I wasn't done. I placed my phone on the table. I also received threats, I said calmly. Messages implying blame if anything happened to Mr. Okafor. The insurance representative's eyes widened. Threats, he asked. Yes, I replied. And I've submitted them to my lawyer. The lawyer nodded. Along with a formal letter removing her from any responsibility, he added. The room went very quiet. Mrs. Okafor's voice trembled. You're twisting things, she said. She promised to help. I offered conditional assistance, I replied. Not to be falsely accused. The insurance representative closed his file. I'm sorry, he said, turning to Mrs. Okafor. But based on this information, there is no claim here. Mrs. Okafor's face went pale. No, she whispered. Then Chinito finally spoke. It's true, he said weakly. My illness has nothing to do with Amara. Everyone turned to him. She didn't cause this, he continued. My choices did. Tears filled his eyes. I let my mother control everything, he admitted. And I lost my marriage because of it. Mrs. Okafor stared at him like she didn't recognize him. Chinito, she whispered. What are you saying? I'm saying the truth, he replied. The administrator cleared his throat. This meeting is concluded, he said. We will proceed with treatment based on accurate information. Mrs. Okafor slumped back in her chair. Her power was gone. Not because I fought her, but because she revealed herself. As I stood up to leave, she grabbed my arm. You think you've won, she hissed. I gently removed her hand. No, I said softly. I think I'm finally free. Outside the hospital, the sun felt warmer than it had in months. My lawyer smiled. You handled that perfectly, he said. I nodded. But deep down I knew. The story wasn't over yet. Because when people lose control, they don't always accept it quietly. That evening, I received one last message. From Mrs. Okafor. It read, This is not finished. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. I thought the meeting was the end. I really did. I thought once the lies were exposed, once the insurance was denied, once the truth was spoken in front of witnesses, Mrs. Okafor would finally stop. But people who live on control don't stop when they lose. They panic. And when they panic, they make mistakes. Big ones. 2 days after the hospital meeting, my phone started ringing nonstop. Not unknown numbers. Known ones. Relatives. Old family friends. People I hadn't spoken to in years. At first, I didn't understand why. Then I picked one call. Amara. An older woman said gently. What is really going on? I frowned. What do you mean? I asked. She sighed. Your former mother-in-law called a family meeting, she said. She said terrible things about you. I closed my eyes. Here we go. According to her, Mrs. Okafor had gathered elders, relatives, church members, anyone who would listen. She cried. She wailed. She played the victim. She told them. I abandoned her son. I caused his illness. I refused to help. I was heartless and wicked. She wanted sympathy. She wanted pressure. She wanted people to force me back into the mess. But she made one mistake. She told the story to people who knew me. One of those people was Auntie Ifyananya, a woman who had watched my marriage from the beginning, a woman who once warned Mrs. Okafor to stop interfering. According to what I was told, Auntie Ifyananya stood up during the meeting. And she didn't whisper. She spoke loudly. "She is lying," Auntie Ifyananya said. The room went silent. "You all remember," she continued, "how this woman treated Amara." Mrs. Okafor tried to interrupt her, but the elders told her to keep quiet. And then, everything started coming out. How Mrs. Okafor controlled her son. How she insulted me for years. How she blamed me for infertility without proof. How she pushed for another wife. How she used marital savings without permission. People started murmuring. Some shook their heads. Some looked shocked. Others looked guilty. Then someone asked a dangerous question. "If Amara is so wicked," an elder said, "why did you call her when your son fell sick?" Silence. Mrs. Okafor couldn't answer. Another elder spoke. "And if she caused the sickness," he added, "why did the hospital say otherwise?" Her story started collapsing, piece by piece. By the time that meeting ended, something had changed. The same people she wanted to turn against me started asking her questions. Hard ones. Uncomfortable ones. That evening, my phone rang again. This time it was Ngozi. I almost didn't pick it. But I did. "Amara," she said quietly. "Please. I need to talk to you." I said nothing. "My mother is in trouble," she continued. "People are angry. They're asking about the money." I felt a tightness in my chest. "The savings?" I asked. "Yes," she whispered. "They want to know where it went." I stayed silent. "She used it all," Ngozi admitted. "And now she has nothing to show." For the first time, I felt something unexpected. Not joy. Not revenge. But closure. Because the truth was finally standing on its own. I didn't need to defend myself anymore. The next day, something else happened. Something even bigger. A nurse posted anonymously online. Not names. Just a story. A story about a family trying to force blame on an ex-wife for an illness. A story about fake urgency and lies. People started sharing it. Commenting. Discussing. Guessing. Someone recognized the story. Then another. Soon, whispers turned into conversations. Conversations turned into questions. And questions turned into exposure. By the end of that week, Mrs. Okafor stopped calling. Stopped messaging. Stopped threatening. Because the attention she wanted had turned against her. One afternoon, I received a message from Chinedu. It was long. Carefully written. He apologized. Not just for the hospital, but for the marriage. For choosing silence over truth. For choosing comfort over courage. For letting his mother destroy what we had. "I don't expect forgiveness," he wrote. "But I want you to know you were never the problem." I read that message 3 times. Then I cried. Not because I wanted him back, but because I finally felt seen. That night, I slept peacefully for the first time in months. No fear. No anxiety. No looking over my shoulder. Just quiet. But life wasn't finished teaching its lessons. Because one final truth was still waiting to come out. A truth that would change everything. People often say, "Follow the money." I never truly understood what that meant. Until the money that destroyed my marriage finally began to speak. It started quietly. No shouting. No drama. Just questions. Simple questions that Mrs. Okafor could no longer avoid. Where did the money go? Who approved it? What documents existed? And the scariest one of all, why was there nothing to show for it? The family elders didn't come to me at first. They went to Chinedu. He was still in the hospital when they visited him. Weak. Tired. Ashamed. But for the first time in his life, he didn't hide. He told them the truth. Everything. How the savings were meant for our future. How his mother insisted she could multiply it. How he trusted her blindly. How the investment failed. And she never told anyone. Not him. Not me. One elder asked him a question that shook him deeply. "If your ex-wife had truly stolen money," the elder said, "why did your mother need to invest her own?" Chinedu had no answer. Because deep down, he already knew. The elders demanded records. Receipts. Bank statements. Proof. Mrs. Okafor delayed. She cried. She shouted. She accused. But facts don't fear noise. Eventually, the bank was contacted. And that was when everything collapsed. The account wasn't empty because of hospital bills. It wasn't empty because of business loss. It was empty because the money had been moved years ago, transferred in pieces, withdrawn quietly, used without consent. Some went into a failed scheme. Some went into personal expenses. And some, no one could trace. When the bank statements were finally printed and laid on the table, the room went silent. This wasn't gossip anymore. This was evidence. Cold, clear, undeniable. One of the elders spoke quietly. So all this time, he said, you knew the money was gone. Mrs. Okafor didn't answer. So when you accused Amara of stealing, another elder added, you were covering yourself. Still, she said nothing. Because there was nothing left to say. Word spread fast. Not like rumors. Like truth. The same mouths that once called me wicked went quiet. Some apologized. Some avoided me. But no one accused me again. Then something unexpected happened. The hospital called me. Not for money. Not for help. For confirmation. They wanted written proof that I had no responsibility. And when my lawyer sent it again, officially, they updated their records. My name was removed completely. Cleanly. Finally. That same week, Mrs. Okafor suffered what she feared most. Not sickness. Not poverty. But loss of respect. People stopped listening to her. Stopped defending her. Stopped excusing her behavior. And for someone who lived on control, that was worse than punishment. Ngozi came to see me one evening. She looked tired. Older. I didn't know how bad it was, she said softly. I believed her. I nodded. So did I replied. She swallowed hard. I'm sorry, she whispered. I believed her. Because unlike her mother, she wasn't pretending. Before she left, she said something that stayed with me. My mother always said you were weak, she said. But I see now, you were just quiet. Quiet strength. That was the phrase. A few days later, I received one final message from Chinidu. Short. Honest. They know the truth now, he wrote. And I know it too. I replied with one sentence. I hope you choose better from here. That was all. And just like that, the chaos ended. No more calls. No more threats. No more lies. Only consequences. But this story isn't just about betrayal. Or money. Or manipulation. It's about something deeper. Something many people watching this right now may be facing. Silence. Emotional abuse. False blame. Fear of speaking up. Because the hardest lesson I learned wasn't how to fight back. It was when to stop explaining yourself. Some endings are loud. They come with shouting, revenge, and victory speeches. But this one came quietly. Like a deep breath after years of holding it in. When everything finally ended, when the lies were exposed, when my name was cleared, when the calls stopped, I expected to feel happy. Instead, I felt light, like I had been carrying a heavy bag for years, and finally put it down. That was when I understood something important. Sometimes, peace doesn't come from winning. It comes from walking away alive. For a long time, I blamed myself. I blamed myself for staying too long, for forgiving too much, for explaining myself to people who never planned to listen. But healing taught me a different truth. I wasn't weak. I was hopeful. And hope in the wrong hands can be dangerous. Let me tell you the first lesson this story taught me. Lesson 1. Love is not silence. Love does not ask you to shrink. It does not ask you to endure abuse quietly just to keep peace. When I stayed silent during family insults, I called it respect. When I accepted false blame, I called it patience. But silence didn't save my marriage. It only trained people to hurt me without consequences. If your voice is always shaking because you're scared of reaction, that's not love. That's fear wearing a wedding ring. Lesson 2. Anyone who controls the story controls the blame. For years, my ex-mother-in-law told the story. She decided who was good and who was bad. And because I didn't speak up, her version became the truth. until facts walked into the room. If someone is desperate to control what others hear about you, ask yourself why. Truth doesn't need protection. Lies do. Lesson 3. Not every family is safe. This one was painful, because we're taught that family must be endured at all costs. But not all families nurture. Some dominate, some drain, some destroy quietly. Marriage didn't give my ex-mother-in-law power over me. I gave it to her, by ignoring the red flags. Family should be a place of rest, not a battlefield. Lesson 4. Money reveals character. Nothing exposed the truth faster than money. Not sickness. Not divorce. Money. The same people who called me useless remembered my value when they needed cash. The same mouths that accused me of stealing were hiding the real theft. Watch how people treat you when they no longer benefit from you. That's who they really are. Lesson 5. Closure does not come from apologies. Chinidu apologized, and I accepted it. But my healing didn't come from his words. It came from clarity, from knowing I wasn't crazy. I wasn't wicked. I wasn't the problem. Closure is not someone begging for forgiveness. It's you finally believing yourself. After everything, people asked me a question. Would you go back if he changed? And my answer surprised them. I said no. Not because I hated him, but because I loved myself more. I had outgrown the version of me that begged for fairness. Today my life is simple, peaceful. I work again. I laugh again. I sleep without fear. And most importantly, I trust myself again. If you're watching this and something feels familiar, if you're constantly blamed, silenced, or controlled, please hear me. You are not difficult. You are not heartless. You are not the problem. Sometimes you're just surrounded by people who benefit from your pain. Final message to you. If you are in a situation where you're always the one apologizing, your truth is always questioned, your pain is always minimized, your value is only remembered when you're needed, please know this. Walking away is not failure. It's survival. Before I go, let me ask you something. Did this story speak to you? Have you ever been blamed for something you didn't do? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read them all. Like this video if it touched your heart. Subscribe for more real-life stories that heal and empower. And please, share this with someone who might need to hear it today. Because sometimes, a story can save a life. Thank you for listening.